Start recording. Should be up. Start recording. Aha! It's like snapping in and out. All right. We're gonna win. All right. So, let's try to make sure everything's good here. If you're watching, welcome to the ZBC podcast. This is going to be episode 0 of the ZBC podcast. So, let me give you guys a little bit of background before we even start. So, before we get into LaJoie, before we get into everything NASCAR related, I want to give you guys a little bit of backstory on what's going on with this podcast. So, if you're a fan of the channel, which I've got exactly 200 subscribers right now, you'll know that in the beginning of 2023, there was some videos posted to this channel. The beginning of 2024, there was some videos posted to the channel, and basically I did things like NASCAR power rankings. I did things like recapping NASCAR highlights. So essentially, what this channel is we cover the highlights, we cover the power rankings, but also you can see I have gaming content where I'll basically go into NASCAR Heat 5, which is the #1 NASCAR game right now, and I'll do races. And, you know, I'm actually I think I'm one of the world's best players at that game. So unfortunately, NASCAR Heat 5 is coming to an end. The servers are going to go down at the end of this year, but then we're going to migrate onto Xbox iRacing NASCAR, which is going to be probably one of the coolest things that has come for NASCAR video games, and I will definitely be streaming that. So very excited for that. Now that we got that out of the way, I want to explain a little bit why I've been absent for the last 3 months. So let's kind of recap, and I'm only going to address this once because I don't think it really needs to be really addressed super soon. Maybe a little later I can speak more about it. But 2024 has been the hardest year of my life. So, man, where do I start? So, I'm just going to tell you what happened, and then I'm going to kind of lead into why this is relevant. So, I start my YouTube channel basically really going hard in November 2023. So, I'm doing like reels on Instagram, you know, a lot of stuff, getting good traction, and, you know, starting to build up my following with the racing content. And then it kind of all stopped around February. I'm not really sure on the timeline. So why did that happen? So unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, metastatic melanoma. Basically his skin cancer spread to the lungs, liver, and probably more places. And that was in mid-January. So he gets diagnosed, and unfortunately he didn't really have much of a support system. So basically, I fought for him as much as I could, and I took care of him every day. And took care of him every day, organized hospital visits, organized his immunotherapy treatments, tried to get him better. And a lot of that was spent right here in this house trying to get him better. And it was really difficult. I basically watched him go from, on his feet and all that stuff in November. We were talking a lot about the channel, talking a lot about how excited we are to watch this thing grow. And then, like, as soon as, I really start to get out there, actually, it's crazy how I found out that he had cancer because, I was starting to do the gaming content, which was doing good. And I actually went to Daytona International Speedway. It's an hour from here. I live in Melbourne, Florida. And why was I there? I wanted to start interviewing some drivers because I thought it would be good content. So I get a call to my dad. He says, son, I just want you to know it's like, because I knew he went to the doctor and he had this cyst here. I'm like, okay. He thought it was from a dentist. But I'm like, so he calls me. He's like, son, it's not good. It's more than likely we're going to find out tomorrow that it's something really bad. So I'm there and bro, it was just I really, really tried to push through it and work while I was at Daytona, get the interviews done. But all I could think about was I had literally just started living with my dad. So let me tell you, I'll tell you in a second, why I started living with my dad. But anyways, so I get the call and that's at Daytona International Speedway. I'm like, Jesus, bro, you got to be fucking kidding me. So anyways, in November, before the diagnosis, literally we were so excited for the channel, so excited for my other businesses. Literally we were running outside downstairs down there, just cool. We had never actually lived together, me and my dad, since I was 2 years old. And, I was excited for what the future. And so anyways, the diagnosis comes, then February comes. I think I posted every day for a month until after he got the diagnosis, but then things started to get really hard. I was caring for him, still trying to make things work with the YouTube and stuff. And then, it just started to go worse and worse and worse. Anyway, long story short, I lost my dad in April. So it really took, I think, 94 days from diagnosis to when he passed. I don't really want to get into the specifics of, the treatment and all that stuff, I think for a later date. But anyways, so even after he passed, there's a lot of stuff that I had to deal with as far as, getting my own mental health back on track, getting my physical health back on track. Because if anyone knows out there who's been a caretaker, a sole caretaker, especially when I'm 26 and I have no idea how to deal with cancer, how to set up doctor's appointments, any of that stuff. It's really hard. And it was terrible, not gonna lie, but I think that you have to look at there's good and bad in everything. And one of the best things I learned was, the best thing I learned was to obviously to always carpe diem, take advantage of right now. But the second thing I learned was delegation. So really quickly, I was doing this channel all on my own, and then my dad gets sick. And then, so when my dad got sick, I realized I needed help from my dad's sister, my aunt, and I needed help from my dad's brother, my uncle. And so that really taught me you can't do everything yourself. So I applied this to business, and basically I have some people that are helping me with the channel that I've hired, and we're excited to really start this. But anyways, we're gonna put that away, put that to the side because that's the past. And I'm just kind of letting you guys know that may have been watching my channel before what the absence was. So no, it wasn't I just quit or anything like that. As you can see behind me, and as you'll see in the future, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes. But we're going to get away from the behind the scenes. We're going to get away from the past, and we're going to start pulling into the future. So we're done with that. So ZBC podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple different things. So we're going to be talking about the NASCAR Cup Series. We're going to be talking about the NASCAR Xfinity Series. We're going to be talking about the NASCAR Truck Series. Also in the ZBC podcast, each week we're going to be doing power rankings for the NASCAR Cup Series. So we're going to find out the 10 hottest drivers. Then we'll sum it up. So without any further ado, let's start this test broadcast of the ZBC podcast. So, let's talk about what we're going to talk about in this podcast, and then we'll hop right into it. So, right now we have a 2-week break until the NASCAR restarts on August 11th. We got the Olympics going on. So this is actually a good time to do this test broadcast. So right now it's Friday, which means we haven't raced in a couple days. So these news stories might be a little bit stale. You probably have heard about them, but that's okay. It's just a test podcast. So first things first that we're going to talk about. Corey LaJoie out at Spire Motorsports, driving the number 7 Gamebridge Chevrolet. He's not going to be there next year in 2025. Next thing we're going to talk about is Larson winning at Indy. I thought it was quite a controversial finish to the race. I'm not sure if Tyler Reddick might have had a chance to win that. So next thing, it's going to be Riley Herbst winning at Indy. I thought it was an incredible race. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights. Next, Ty Majeski wins his second straight at IRP. He shows why he's a short track ace. Ty Majeski coming from the late models and really showing I think he's making a case for why he should probably eventually get boosted up into that Ford ladder. I mean, I don't see why he's not a Cup talent. So next, we got 4 races to go till the NASCAR playoffs and the Cup Series, and we're going to take a look at the standings. We're going to take a look at my predictions, and finally, we're going to take a look at the NASCAR Power Rankings before we wrap up with our final thoughts. So I'm going to have to fix how I do that, but that's all right. So Corey LaJoie, he's out at Spire. My thoughts on Corey LaJoie, there's a couple of things that, I have my thoughts on is his Gamebridge sponsorship. That's the first thing that I can think of. If you're looking at NASCAR, you have to do what? You have to follow the money. So he's out at Spire. Performance has been an issue this year for Corey. And you have to think about the way that these Cup Series work. It's millions of dollars to get in. So, earlier this year, I've been watching some videos, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not too caught up, so I'm going to try to learn by talking about it. But Corey, basically, his reputation was really up here at the beginning of the year. He's gotten into some tangle. He's gotten, tangled with some drivers with Kyle Busch. So is his sponsorship at risk? Is this kind of a sponsorship thing, and maybe they're blaming it on his performance, and we'll see if he gets another ride. But so first things first, let's take a look at his results at the beginning of this year. So I got to get my phone on silent. So Corey LaJoie starts off the year with a 4th place at Daytona. Okay, and I'm just, because of everything that's happened to me, I am watching this and learning this just as you guys are. You probably know more than me right at the moment, but we'll change that. Really going to get to studying. So, starts off the year 30s, so you don't want to see that. 24th, 36th, 32nd. Man, these aren't great finishes. So, for someone that is, he's in his 4th year at Spire Motorsports, you need to see him making gains. So right off the bat, if we just look at 2022 and 2023, you're not seeing an ascendant. You're not seeing the ascendance that you should. Now, Corey you've seen ascendance on his podcast and all that stuff, but we need to be seeing on-track performance, especially Spire, who has basically been investing millions and millions of dollars into the sport. You have 3 drivers right now at Spire. You've got Hocevar, you've got Zane Smith, and you've got Corey LaJoie. So you need to already see Corey LaJoie taking somewhat of a leadership position in the sport at the team. And already I could tell you that he's not number 1 in the standings. So before we exit this page, let's just see, the Pocono finish controversial already. Wrecks Kyle Busch, wrecks a handful of cars, as you guys have probably seen the clip. So now let's move to the standings. Standings. We're going to see Corey LaJoie. He's kind of mired back here in 28th in the standings. Now, it's not so much of a bad thing. I think Corey LaJoie being in 28th in the standings, for normally Spire, that would be like something like good. But then you look at Carson Hocevar, and he's in his first year in the Cup Series, and already, like, literally it's his first year, and he's already, above Corey LaJoie, who's in his 4th year at Spire, one of the veterans of the sport at this point. You got to be finishing better than Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar, one of the best wheelmen that we've had enter the sport in a long time. So not only that, but if we look at Zane Smith, right? So we see Corey LaJoie 28th, Zane Smith 33rd. Now, he's not the worst driver at Spire, but let's look at Zane Smith. So Zane Smith, he has definitely been out. If you look at his recent performances, yeah, he started off bad, really, like 35th, 36th, 35th, 21st, bad. But we can see, and look, Zane Smith is a proven winner. Zane Smith, I believe Cup Series, was it Truck Series champion? No, Ben Rhodes, Truck Series champion. Regardless, Zane Smith is a top perennial championship 4 guy with Front Row Motorsports in the Truck Series. Now with Spire Motorsports moving to Chevy. But look what's happening recently with Zane Smith. So I think Spire is looking at the new generation coming in, and I think it's going to be interesting to see, because Corey LaJoie, he's got a major platform with Stacking Pennies with a podcast. He's one of the most outspoken guys in the Cup Series, and it's going to be interesting to see how he can leverage his podcast and social media presence. I think he's not going to be out of a ride. Maybe he just needs to shake things up a bit. It's going to be interesting to see. I've heard things about Rick Ware Motorsports, heard things about other teams. Not sure. It was Rick Ware, and then I'm not sure right now, so we'll have to do a little bit more research. But Corey LaJoie, going to be interesting to see, but Corey LaJoie out at Spire for 2025. Going to be interesting to see if he keeps his Gainbridge sponsorship. That's the main thing I'm looking at, because to me, it's not only his finishing positions, but I think, Gainbridge is a very family-friendly brand. They don't want much controversy. They need stability. I don't know if I think he's kind of on a new wave. I think I think he'll find his way. I like Corey LaJoie. I think he's one of the most necessary voices in NASCAR right now, and I'm really rooting for him. Corey LaJoie out at Spire. So, next, Larson wins a controversial Brickyard 400. I'm not going to lie. As I said, a lot going on this year. So I only tuned into the last 30 laps. So if I was to speak on like what happened in the last couple stages, I'd be lying. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the highlights from the last 40 or so laps. That's basically where I started watching. And in my opinion, I thought that the person that was going to win was probably Denny Hamlin. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from the Brickyard 400.
All 2x2 here. That's still covered.
And the caution has not able to do anything with it. And a big launch for Ross
third. What a 3-week stretch. The big win at Chicago. A great run last week, and here he is again.
Junior.
Yeah, he was about right.
All right, so 30 to go here. So this was the point where Keselowski basically hadn't pit since he was trying to do this crazy strategy where hasn't pit in a long time, trying to make it work on fuel.
Takes the lead, and here comes Blaney.
Zane Smith in that 71 car, he went to the bottom and got in front of the 11 car.
Coming, oh, we've got a caution that comes out. It's the 8 of Kyle Busch.
I think NASCAR needs to work on their highlights a bit, but basically we skipped a lot there. I'll try to get it better for these next for the next podcast. But basically, we're running down the wire with we're trying to figure out if Brad Keselowski can make it on fuel, and Ryan Blaney's running right behind him, and then out of nowhere, Kyle Busch checks up right into Denny Hamlin, ends up wrecking him, and brings out a wreck with about 2 laps to go. leading to NASCAR overtime.
6 is
so
close.
here's where it gets interesting. So we need to prepare better with these clips at the ready. But so Brad Keselowski, he was trying to make it on fuel. So we didn't know if he was going to make it already. And then, so now he's just pushing it to get to lap 160. But then overtime brings out an extra 3 laps. So here's the thing. Right at the beginning, we're about to start NASCAR overtime. Brad Keselowski pulls off, and he's out of gas. So what happens here? It's going to be an opportunity for Kyle Larson to come into the front row. Now, here's where the thing happens. This is like a confusing rule now. So now the leader by NASCAR rulebook is Ryan Blaney. But if you look, I'm going to let this start play out.
So the 5 moves
Watch how
forward into the
Larson,
front row. It's overtime, presented by
I mean, he's kind of the
Bank.
presumptive leader, you'd
Blaney
say, on the inside.
Larson on the inside.
So people are saying, hey, did Larson jump the start here? Because he's out in front. But now look, he
2
backs
laps
off,
of racing in
and
Indy.
they're both at the line kind of at the same time, if you see. So I think it's fair play. People might criticize NASCAR for like inconsistent officiating, but I think in this situation, you have to really draw a line between when you're officiating this kind of stuff. Look, it's a race. It's got to be exciting. It's got to sell, and you can't. I don't think it was right to call a jumped restart for Kyle Larson in this circumstance. I just don't. I think it's definitely more appropriate because Keselowski pulls off. I think you just let this one go. I think NASCAR makes the right call. So I do disagree with NASCAR's decision to pull out the caution when they did. So let's look at the caution.
2 laps of racing in
2
Indy.
laps to go here.
Who else is going to run out?
And a big wreck happens in turn 1. I guess I forgot about this one.
And a wreck in
So there's
turn
2
1.
overtimes. So let's go to the second
The
overtime.
caution comes out. There'll be another restart. Control.
All right,
Blaney on the
here's
outside.
what pissed me off.
The
So
second
now
overtime,
Larson's in the lead. So now
it'll be
he's the
2
control
laps.
car. Gets a good start. Fair play. Fair play to Larson.
A great
Okay.
launch for Larson.
Blaney trying to hold tough on the outside.
Reddick way back.
right?
Here comes Blaney on the outside. Larson
So Reddick gets the
easily
spot
by
in
Blaney.
there.
And you see
Blaney, I guess,
wiggling.
I don't know if
Does
it's
he have
fuel or
enough
trying to
fuel?
get some grip. So right here, let's take a look at this. So watch Ryan Preece.
Now can Larson
I
hold
think he
off
spins
Reddick?
out.
Oh!
Yeah. So Preece in the
Spinner on the
41
backstretch,
spins
and
out
is
right
he gonna
here.
make
Now,
contact? He does with
NASCAR
the
has an
inside
opportunity
wall.
to call
We'll see if
caution.
he continues to roll. They stay green.
So we stay green.
If that car will continue to
So
roll.
you got to call caution right now because that guy's sitting on the apron. He's sitting right there.
He's trying to roll.
Right?
That's Ryan
And we're coming
Preece,
to the
and he is
to white
trying
flag, 1 lap to
roll,
go.
but he's
Look
got
at him,
a
he's on the
flat
track
right
now.
rear tire.
He's actually on the track.
Out of
So here's
fourth.
where you call a
Will they
caution.
see the white flag?
Because you
Larson in
got
front,
Reddick
Reddick
coming,
running
he could
second.
possibly make a pass.
One more time
Exciting
around.
finish. But instead, NASCAR lets the white flag go. And then they're like, "Oh my god. He's coming.
And
And
the
what
41
if there's a
still
wreck?
moving.
What if one of these guys
I don't see
wrecks
any
and
way
goes
NASCAR
inside?"
lets them race by the
And
scene.
So
there's
they're
the
coming off
caution.
at 2.
Larson's going to do it. Larson
And
is
now
gonna win
the caution comes out. So basically, NASCAR's saying, like, the guy, Preece is right here.
Brickyard
Let's
400.
let it go a bit.
We get back to the line.
So you got Preece right here. Now, why did NASCAR throw the caution? Because if these guys were going full speed and one wrecks, you're looking at like you could die if you're going 170 coming out the corner and you hit Preece. So NASCAR totally drops the ball on this, in my opinion, and it is really a stain. I mean, like, they let it go because they wanted it. They let it go because they thought he could get fired up. So you got. I mean, I'm not saying it had to be perfect, but there's definitely stuff to learn because this is the Brickyard 400, and you have to have competent officiating. We can't have races that are ending like this, to be honest, because like you look at the we'll go back. You look at like what was happening on this second overtime start, and as we come to take the white flag, I mean, you have clearly Reddick in contention for the win. So I think it's a missed opportunity by NASCAR. You know, some are bringing up this whole conspiracy of NASCAR setting up Hendrick Motorsports. I'm not sure how much I buy into that. I honestly think, based on the vibe, that it was just a missed call. It was a missed call, and in my opinion, unacceptable. So we didn't really get to cover the whole thing of that last stage where Keselowski was leading the whole thing, and then you had Blaney coming up, almost passing Keselowski, and then you had Hamlin coming up and then drops the ball and goes to pit. It was a really interesting last stage. So next podcast, I'll make sure that I can cover these better. Good for Larson. I mean, look, I think it's his 3rd win of the year. Now he's 1st in points, and I think he's doing extremely well as far as I'm concerned. So now that we got that out the way, congrats to Kyle Larson. And let's take a look at the next story, which is Riley Herbst winning at Indy with a last lap pass. Again, I did not see this race. I'm still getting back on my feet after my dad. So let's just take a look at the actual finish, because I got to take a look at the finish. My initial thoughts on the finish are pretty simple. I thought that Custer, Almirola, and Riley Herbst, all made like a pretty awesome drive to the end. My initial thoughts are, at the same time, that we cannot, I mean, the raceability issue has to be fixed, because you can't have the Xfinity Series having finishes like this, and then the NASCAR's Cup Series not even really being able to pass each other. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think a step backwards into these Xfinity type cars might be the next step forward. So we're gonna have to see what happens. So let's get into the finish at Indianapolis for the Xfinity Series. One second. Bear with me 1 second while I pull this up. All right.
Zone. And back up through the gears there.
Good job by everybody.
Look at the run he has here. Cole Custer,
All right, so we're
trying to take the lead
watching
away.
this for the first time together.
To the inside, and Allmendinger is going to fall back to 2nd.
Custer lost the bottom of the racetrack. Allmendinger with a big run. Custer overdrove too.
See, the way
Oh, a
these
little
cars
contact
race is
made
so
there.
cool.
Cole Custer, Allmendinger. Down the backstretch now, the 98's going to push.
The draft plays such a good effect. The cars can pass.
Trying to put some pressure on the 7 of
It's just more
Allgaier as
entertaining,
he'll
in
go
my
to the
opinion.
inside to take 3rd away. Allgaier comes down to try to take the air off the spoiler. Here comes SVG. Good run by Connor Daly, running 7th.
He's there. He's there. He's got to run right here. Get to that left rear quarter panel. Slide draft him, slow him down. The question is, how does Custer respond here? Does he fall in behind him? He does.
Riley Herbst back out in front.
Looks like a caution's about to come out. So, oh yeah, this was the Alfredo crash. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of this one. Let's look at the replay. Take a look at the replay. So Alfredo,
He's really slow.
not able to get it
Contact
slow
now down the
down.
racetrack in
Comes
front
down.
of.
Yeah, Parker Retzloff doesn't see
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, he was following
I
another
didn't see
car. I
really
didn't see
what
that in the
happened
original
before
feud. So
Alfredo,
Parker
so I'm not really able
Retzloff
to
is
offer
tucked
my
up
analysis
tight.
on that. But this was the, I think this was
Through the restart zone they go, up
Yeah,
through the
final stretch, I
gears.
think. Yeah, this is a
See
hell
the
of a race
16
here.
getting pushed around a
12
little bit.
laps to
He's
go.
got
You got
the
Custer,
20
you got
behind
Herbst,
him, pushing
and
3
Almirola
cars on
back
the
in fifth
inside
here.
working together.
This is just awesome racing. I mean, the way these cars drive, they're able to pass.
That was the 21 of Austin Hill with a big move to the bottom. Got by Connor Daly side by side up front.
Custer once again working that outside, and the 98 It looked like he might have got a little bit loose in 2. And here comes the 16. Allmendinger trying to take second away. Riley Herbst into 3.
Yeah, they need to work on these.
He's lower. He gets to the back bumper. Through the short chute. He's going to go for the lead.
Damn, he's almost spinning out through 4.
He has the advantage. Here comes the 0-0. Onto the front stretch. Riley Herbst is going to win in Indianapolis.
Sick finish. Let's see what Herbst had to say on his win.
Now, Riley Herbst got his first career Xfinity Series win as his home track. He gets his second win at the Brickyard. Before we get into the meaning of this, that last lap, walk me through how you were able to overtake Eric Almirola.
Yeah, Kim, this is Indianapolis. This is the most famous racetrack in the world. It's an honor just to place, let alone win it. Man, we've had speed all year, Kim, and I felt like we could win.
Yeah, good.
And I just messed up on the restarts a little bit.
Kind of sad.
And then watching it right here, it was a good fight. I thought I had cold clear, and then he said bottom of 3 with the 20, and I was like, oh, this is going to be tough. But yeah, I mean, I just continue to work. It's been a pretty tough week on me mentally, to be honest with you, Kim. So I'm proud of these guys, proud of everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing. Obviously, the news of us shutting down, these guys could have given up on me, gone to different teams, but they stuck behind me and Cole, and that's back-to-back wins for Stewart-Haas Racing. Thank you so much, Monster Energy. I love you guys, everybody in Corona. Thank you to everybody in Las Vegas, my family. This is fun. I'm gonna go drink beer and turn my phone off for 3 weeks.
On the pace laps before the race, you talked to us about how sacred this place is. What does it mean to do it, and to do it with your family here, with your parents watching?
Yeah, this is hallowed ground, honestly. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Every person in the world wants to race here, and I won here. I don't care if it's the Xfinity Series, this is the Cup Series, it's the go-kart track out back. This is the Brickyard. This is Indianapolis. This is the coolest racetrack in the world, and I love you guys, and yeah, this is pretty sweet.
Congratulations. That is Riley Herbst. He is a winner at the...
Yeah, so I think really good words by Riley Herbst there. I didn't even think about the aspect of, you know, Stewart-Haas shutting down. So before we get to that aspect, you know, first of all, kudos to Almirola. I mean, he races like 3 times a year. And every time he gets into that number 20 Stewart-Haas car, or number 19, number 20, I'm not sure. I think number 20, yeah. Every time he gets in that Stewart-Haas car, I mean, he's a factor. I think he wins at, forgive me, it's been a tough year, but he won one of his only races earlier in the year. It was like a short track. Wins that race. And so other than that, I would say awesome finish. I think the cup cars need to be racing like this. But to put a cap on Indianapolis Xfinity, I look at Riley Herbst's comments, and it's kind of a sad commentary on what's going on in the sport with Stewart-Haas shutting down. To me, the way I analyze that interview is it's a guy who's unsure of his future. He said it was one of the toughest weeks mentally. Seems like a guy who's fighting for a ride, who's looking for a ride. I mean, it's a huge shakeup. Stewart-Haas, one of the founding teams in the Race Team Alliance, one of the biggest teams in NASCAR, shutting down. So, I mean, for them to win the last 2 Xfinity Series races, it's just it's monumental. So, let's go to the next story, which is Majeski wins his 2nd straight at IRP, short track ace, Ty Majeski. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. We'll be watching these again for the first time. I know that there was some drama between Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. I have not been able to look at that yet, but let's pull that up and see if we can figure out what happened together.
And here comes Ankrum.
See him 3 wide back around the 10th spot.
He loves that apron, doesn't he? He's been really strong down there, has that 18 truck of Ankrum.
Right, so
Watch that 11, though, to the high side.
You got Eckes in 2nd.
Whole lot going on here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Big impact for Corey Heim. And the caution is out.
I guess
Made
later in the
Corey
race,
Heim think, man,
together.
you can't be squeezing me like that.
For the 19 of Christian Eckes for that damage.
Here, this is off turn
All right,
2,
so
squeezes him up high, and watch, late.
there's the contact, I think, that probably caused that left front problem. And see if we can get another look at it here. And made Corey Heim think, man, you can't be squeezing me like that. Corey had a little bit of room up to the right, so it just looked like a good racing.
So it looks like Corey Heim.
And see if we can get another look at it here. And made Corey Heim think, man, you can't be squeezing me like that.
I think Eckes came up on him.
Corey had a little bit of room up to the right, so
Anyway,
it just looked like a good racing, tight racing situation by my eyes, but Corey didn't see it that way.
They've been dominant this evening,
I guess taking out
combining to lead the first 91 laps. It's going to be 28 to go, stage 2, as we hit the green flag again at IRP.
Consolation. He wants the double. He wants that trophy, just like he got here last year.
And the playoff points that come with it, right?
Absolutely. I think it's more about the trophy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's about the trophy tonight, but it's nice to see those points tomorrow.
But yeah, we'll talk about the points tomorrow. Just let me take the trophy home tonight.
Just patiently works that throttle down, but look at the run. He got off the turn.
Crossover, does Eckes have enough?
He's down. Now he's down on the bottom. Let's see what he can do.
I was ready to say clear. He's not. Now maybe he is. Ty Majeski leads, start-finish line.
Majeski leads. I'm assuming he just goes to a win, right? Yeah. Builds up a lead of 3 seconds. Ty Majeski, your winner.
Might have been a bit of a
Truck
mistake,
Series.
I
I do want to take a quick look at the Truck Series standings because I believe we have one race to go in the Truck Series before the playoffs. So let's take a look at what's going on. I think we have a 3-way race. So Ty Majeski, 3rd place in points, safely in Nick Sanchez, safely in Roger Carruth. Like I said, one more race until the playoffs. So let's just take a look at what the state of this is. So Ben Rhodes, Tanner Gray, Daniel Dye, and Stuart Friesen, all with the chance to get into the playoffs. Now, close race here to get into 10th place. So, as you're aware, the NASCAR Truck Series has 10 drivers that can make it into the playoffs. It's a round of 10, then followed by the round of 8, and finally the championship 4. So it's going to be interesting to see. Next race is Richmond. You're basically looking at these two guys, Tanner Gray and Daniel Dye, going to be fighting for that last spot. Ben Rhodes not locked in. Stuart Friesen not out of it. Matt Crafton mathematically eliminated, assuming he does not win. So that's going to be interesting. We'll take a look. We'll try to do a little preview of that before Richmond. I believe the Richmond race is, let's see. Richmond race is going to be August 10th, so right after the Olympics, August 10th. So it's going to be Richmond doubleheader, August 11th, Craftsman Truck Series, NASCAR Cup Series. All right, so Truck Series, Ty Majeski, your winner at Indianapolis Raceway Park. I mean, what else do you expect from a guy like Ty Majeski? Works his way up from late model. I mean, he's a wheelman. He's a short track ace. Might not be the road course competitor that other guys like SVG might be, but he's a short track ace that I'll tell you wins his 2nd straight at IRP. Going to be interesting to follow these playoffs in the Truck Series. All right, so now let's get to the big enchilada, which is the NASCAR Cup Series. 4 races to go. What are we thinking here, boys? So one thing I want to look at real quick. Let's see which column has wins in it. Wins, okay, down here. So, I think we need, playoff picture. That'll be good. Okay. All right, 16 drivers make the playoffs. Okay, this is a good thing to look at right here. Okay, so Chase Briscoe looks like he has not much of a chance at making the playoffs. Again, usually I would know more, I'd be more in tune, but this has been a very hard year, just getting back into the swing of things. So it looks like it's going to be kind of an insurmountable lead for Briscoe. And does that mean that there's no Stewart-Haas cars? So you have Briscoe, you got Barry, you got Gregson, and then Should be one more. Priest. Okay, so it looks like all 4 Stewart-Haas cars with Priest, Berry, Gregson, and Briscoe out of the playoff contention. I mean, I can't count them out completely, but 83 points with 4 races to go. Not a great look. So, looks like the only way for anyone really below here is to get a win. So let's see which races are left here in the Cup Series before the playoffs. So you have Richmond, you have Michigan, you have Daytona, you have Darlington. So Michigan, I mean, you could see a guy like, let's see, was Buescher out or was Buescher in? No, Buscher's in. I could see a guy like Bubba Wallace winning at Michigan. I could see a guy like Buescher winning at Michigan. Now, here's the real wild card. This is going to shake things up. Is going to be Daytona. Okay, so you have Daytona, and looking at Daytona, looking ahead to the Coke Zero Sugar 400. That's going to be a new driver potentially that's going to make their way into the NASCAR playoffs. So if you look at Daytona, looking to who could potentially win, I'm looking at a guy like Todd Gilliland. I'm looking at a guy like Michael McDowell. They've been strong. I'm looking at a guy like Ricky Stenhouse that could possibly win their way into the playoffs. Who else? Any dark horses? Corey LaJoie's been good. I mean, you can't count out Kyle Busch. You definitely can't count out Bubba Wallace. So I think, what are the chances that someone wins at Daytona, wins their way in? I think it's a high chance. So, final predictions for the playoffs is going to be, I hate to say it, but I think a front row car is going to win at Daytona. I'm just kind of putting myself out there. I think a front row car could win at Daytona and kind of bully their way into the playoffs. Other than that, that would force Chastain. That would force anyone below Chastain out. So, I mean, my prediction, if you look at, I put a video before the beginning of this year. I think Chastain falls out of the playoffs. I mean, that was my prediction before this year, that he was not going to do well. Because I saw him, he does well in 2022. Was that the year of, no, 2023 was the, forget, which year did he do the Hail Melon? Was that 22 or 23? Hail Melon's a song, Jesus. Yeah, it was 2022, right? Yeah, it was 2022. So he does it in 2022, and he was in the championship for that year. And, you know, I don't see the Trackhouse team really ascendant. Looks like Suarez is in from his win in Atlanta. Not sure how he'd be doing in points, but that's actually interesting to look at. Yeah, so Suarez would otherwise be 17th in points, but because of the winning rule, he is now locked into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. All right, so looks like we got a good understanding of what's coming up in the Cup Series as far as the playoffs. Now, let's take a look at the betting odds to win the NASCAR championship. I would say your favorite right now is probably Ryan Blaney. He does well at tracks like Richmond, Phoenix, or the finishing track. So it's just gonna be interesting to see if Ryan Blaney can really make his way into the championship four. So you got your main five right here. I'm actually looking at 6 guys right here that are legit contenders for the championship. And it's funny because you'll see these 6 are in an interesting position when I do these power rankings. So without any further ado, we're going to move on from these NASCAR championship odds, and let's go into the NASCAR power rankings. All right. So NASCAR power rankings. I have a method to this. Oh, looks like I just messed up this method, didn't I? Yeah. All right. So I have a method to this madness and how I calculate these rankings. But I'm going to share it with you guys. If there's anyone watching for this episode 0, be a good place to share the power rankings algorithm with you guys. I don't know how much more I'm going to do this, the secret sauce to how I calculate it, but let's hop into it. Let's just take a risk. All right. So first thing I take into consideration is the point standings for the power rankings. I'd like to take into consideration these point standings because it gives me a view of, who's performing best in the Cup Series. And then what I look at is the last 4 races. I think the last 4 races is probably the best way you can take a look at, who has momentum, right? So what I do is I look at the past 4 races, and you could see here that Kyle Larson, he won at Indianapolis, and Tyler Reddick finished second, right? So I take a look at these last 4 races, right? And then I take the average of the last 4 races, right? Then I take a look at, I calculate everyone's average for the last 4 races, and then I get who's ranked highest in that average. So if you take a look, Kyle Larson, his last 4 races, he's finished 15.25 average, Chase Elliott 14.5 average, and Tyler Reddick 3.25 average. So Tyler Reddick, he's going to get the top average of these last 4 races. And then number 2 would be Ryan Blaney with a 5.25. So let's start with the rankings officially right now. So number 10 is going to be Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. in his last year in the Cup Series is going to be ranked number 10. I keep messing up my spreadsheet. Oh, God. Yeah, all right. So Martin Truex Jr., his last 4 races are going to be an average of 20th. So he's finished 24th at Nashville, 33rd at Chicago Street Race, 8th at Pocono, and a 27th at Indianapolis, giving him an average finish in his last 4 races of 20th. However, he is sitting currently 7th in points. Oh, my God, I keep changing my spreadsheet. Currently sitting 7th in points. I mean, look, Martin Truex Jr., keep changing the spreadsheet. I'll have to click up here. So keep changing the damn spreadsheet. All right. So I'll have to go here and click like this. All right. So Martin Truex Jr. in his last year, I think since he started off the year kind of hot, and then announced his retirement, mid-year, and ever since then, I guess the last NASCAR race I really watched was the Martinsville race, or earlier in the year before everything happened, and it's just been I feel like he's just been kind of coasting. Now, is he in a top? Is the 19 Joe Gibbs car appropriate to be in 10th place of the power rankings? Absolutely not. I think this is one of the top 5 cars. You have your Gibbs and your Hendrick. Those are the top cars in the league as they sit. So, I mean, look, guys, I can't write home about Martin Truex this year. Sitting in 10th is definitely, it's not where he should be. I think he should be, going out on a high note, and let's see what's in the tank for the rest of the year for Truex. C. Bell, another guy who's, that 20 car should be one of the top 5 or 6 cars. Now, looking at C. Bell's last 4 finishes, though, C. Bell's last 4 finishes his last 4 finishes, he's averaging 22.5. He has a good finish at Indy. I'm not really sure what happened at Nashville and the street race. I think he did end up crashing out at the street race. I think that was him. He ran into a wall. Look, Christopher Bell all year. He's had his highs, he's had his lows. Fortunately enough, they have a good car, and I think he will be a force to be reckoned with during the playoffs. So Christopher Bell, one to watch, but not where he needs to be right now. Brad Keselowski starts the year off cold, okay? Brad Keselowski starts the year off cold. I think he was sitting around, Brad Keselowski was sitting around like 15th, 16th, 17th in points. He's really had a good resurgence, and RFK as a squad has had a good resurgence. if we take a look back to my predictions at the beginning of the year, I did say that RFK, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski are going to start finding their footing somewhere around the mid-year. So that prediction is kind of on the money. Brad Keselowski is rising in the points. I think they're one of the strongest teams. Right now he's ranked 14th in his last 4, but he's sitting 9th in points. And, yeah, I just see Brad Keselowski, RFK as an ascendant team right now. Chris Buescher, T6 in points in the last 4 races. So, number 7, Alex Bowman. And Alex Bowman is kind of being carried by some of his last 4 finishes. So let's take a look at Alex Bowman's. So Alex Bowman, let's see, gotta get back to the spreadsheet. Alex Bowman finishes 4th at Nashville, wins the street race at Chicago, 3rd at Pocono, 31st at Indy. Yeah, I mean, Alex Bowman, probably one of the highest performing Hendrick cars right now. I didn't expect him to be this high. I thought he would be probably around 13th and 14th in points. He's outperforming my expectations this year. So we're going to see how Alex Bowman fares going into the rest of the year here. So number 6 in points is Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, I'm not shy about this. He's my favorite driver. He's had some bad luck. Now that I'm looking at the power ranking spreadsheet, I didn't even know that Hamlin finished 32nd at Indy. Oh, he did crash, right? Yeah, he crashed out the race, right? So Hamlin crashes out the race. Look, Hamlin had a chance to win at Pocono, at Indy. Didn't see these races. I'm not worried about Hamlin. It's just a matter of whether they can find the clutch gene this year. Can they pull out the clutch gene? I am not sure. So now let's get into the top 5 power rankings of the week. And that's going to start with William Byron. William Byron has, I think he's won the most races this year, or he's won 3 races. He starts off the year really hot, okay? He was leading the points for a while there, leading the points. And now we're sitting at 6th in points. Finishes 38th at Indy. Have to find out what happened to him. Otherwise, he's got a strong string of the last 3 races. So William Byron, strong title contender. Now, if we looked at those guys that were true title contenders, I think the only one who wasn't a title contender based on the odds is Tyler Reddick. As we can see that C-Bell. I mean, he's still going to be obviously high in the odds because, you know, he's a Joe Gibbs car. He has shown to be one of the most dominant cars when he's on. So it really just depends on where the cards fall come Phoenix time and come the round of 4. So William Byron, on the other hand, look, William Byron, he is, in my opinion, I mean, besides, I would say Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, those 3 guys right there are the most clutch drivers. And you got to include Larson in that. So you got to, you know, we'll see what Byron does coming into the stretch at the end of this year. Number 4, Chase Elliott. All right, Chase Elliott, I got to admit, I was talking smack on him at the beginning of the year. Chase Elliott has shown to be one of the most resilient drivers this year. I saw his rise up the points ladder quickly. He had a string of insane finishes, and look, he doesn't have the best finishes in his last 4 races, but he's tied for 6th in the last 4 rankings. So consistency might be showing to be one of his best attributes this year. And that's something that we couldn't really say before. It was usually really hot and cold with Chase Elliott. He'd have slumps. But really, I'm impressed by the consistency of Elliott. And I'm interested to see where the chips fall for him. So, Elliott, number 4, power rankings this week. Ryan Blaney, I can make a case that Blaney could be 2nd. I can make a case that he could be 1st. Blaney is, for the 2nd year in a row, very, very, very hot right now. Pause. But Blaney, very hot. He is 2nd right now in the last 4 rankings with a 6th place finish at Nashville, a top 10. Look, he's not a road course ringer, but finishes top 10 at the Chicago street race, and then a 2nd and a 3rd at Indianapolis. Look, he had a chance to win at Indy. He just did. He simply did. Ryan Blaney, at the beginning of the year, I said it was a 100% chance he would reach the championship 4, and I stand by that. I also predicted that Denny Hamlin would win the championship this year, so I also stand by that prediction. Let's see who is number 2 in the power rankings for post-Indy, and that is going to be, again, I messed up the spreadsheet, didn't I? No, I guess not. Yeah, I think I did. But anyways, I keep doing that. All right, Kyle Larson. Look, I had an argument for making him number 1, and I'll give you the simple reason why he wasn't. So, Kyle Larson, he wins at Indy. Kyle Larson had a bad finish at the Chicago street race, and he's leading in the points. So, really, it was a toss-up between putting him 2nd and 1st, and the only thing that's really marring his average over the last 4 is the Chicago street race, where he finishes basically dead last. So Kyle Larson, with that 39th place finish, that's really hampering his average for the last 4. So that leaves us with 1 left. That leaves us with the top spot going to Tyler Reddick. Okay, so Tyler Reddick has just been on fire. I mean, look, he wasn't. I predicted that he was going to win 2 road course races over the course of this year. I predicted he was going to win 2 road course races, and to be honest, I'm not sure if he's done that, but right now, he's on fire. And he's 3rd in points, and look, finishes 2nd at the Chicago street race. This is a race where he's expected to finish 2nd, but look, last 4 finishes, his average is basically 3.25. That's a podium finish each race, and, I think he deservedly is at the top spot. You could make a case for Kyle Larson with the win at Indianapolis to be the hottest driver. I think the driver coming into the next races with the most confidence is going to be Tyler Reddick. And I think, to be honest, he's low-key a championship threat. I would not be surprised at the end of the year to see Tyler Reddick in the championship 4. I mean, if I had to predict the championship 4 right now, I'm saying it's going to be Larson, Blaney, Hamlin, and either Byron or Reddick. But man, those 5 guys are going to be vying for the top 4. I'd say Reddick doesn't make it and Byron does. So you're looking at Larson, Blaney, Byron, Hamlin, which might have been the championship 4 from last year. Let's see. Who was the championship 4 last year? Oh, I got to go here. All right. Oh, God. NASCAR standings. No. So Hamlin was not in the championship 4, as you can see. It was C-Bell. Yeah, I could see C-Bell doing that too. So he's another threat, but I mean the consistency hasn't been, where it was last year for Bell. All right, power rankings done. Okay, 4 races to go to the playoffs. So final thoughts. I think there's a couple things this year. NASCAR coming down the stretch of the season. Obviously, Daytona is going to be pivotal, so I'm excited to see that. I'm really excited to see how exciting the run-up to the playoffs can be. I think I need to do a little bit more research on really what's happened this year. But going into the end of the year with the Xfinity Series, I mean, it'll be crazy to see if, Stewart-Haas Racing can close out their Xfinity Series career with a championship. So that's going to be crazy to see. Can Stewart-Haas Racing get into the playoffs, or are they going to go out kind of not on a good note? We're going to see that. So we'll see this final stretch coming down the year with NASCAR. The Cup Series, Truck Series got 1 more race. Xfinity Series got a couple more races, I believe, before playoffs. So All right. Now, final thoughts on the ZBC podcast, episode 0. Yeah, it was a little bit rough. I'm not going to lie. So, a lot of kinks to be worked out. But I think overall, it was a successful first podcast. If you, by any chance, watched it, comment down below if you liked it. Definitely rough, so we're going to have to really synthesize this and just get better. Things don't start off amazing. What feedback do you have for me? I'd like to know in the comments. Power rankings, feedback. Definitely the highlights. Looking at the highlights and, what happened during the races, I definitely have to make this a little better. But I'd like to know what you guys would like to see in the podcast, just in general. So, yeah. I think we're going to wrap it up there. And I will see you guys next time for the podcast. Again, this was just a test episode. So we're going to start outlining the podcast, getting the things more succinct. And next time I see you guys will be for, I'm going to do some streaming tonight for NASCAR Heat 5. It'll be my first time streaming. So we're going to have some videos rolling out. And then I got to see, I might react to I don't know if it's too late, but I might react to the highlights for the Indianapolis races, all the races that happened in Indy this weekend. And then obviously from there, we can come out with some shorts, some clips and stuff like that. So not sure if it's too late, but might do that. So yeah, just getting back on my feet. And so thanks for tuning in for this first episode of the ZBC podcast, or the episode number 0, the test. We'll be premiering our first episode soon. So let's get it. And appreciate you guys sticking with me. There's going to be a lot more to come on ZBC channel. Let's get it.